and Christy, Sean Shelby, Dave Shaw, everybody's coming today. This is going to be a great weekend. You're feeling good? Make some noise for these fighters. Okay, starting in the women's flyweight division. Priscilla Cachoeira against Shana Dobson, first to the stage in the blue corner. Shana Danger Dobson.
Shana Dobson heading to the scale, 3-3 in her 6th fight. She looks for a big win, Heidi.
She does, and she made some serious changes. She moved to Denver, training out at Elevation now, said that that coaching staff there has really made a huge difference, not just by becoming a family for her, but really tailoring the training specifically to her.
On the other side of this matchup, Rashad, Priscilla Cachoeira.
Yeah, Cachoeira's looking to not drop 4 in a row, you know, and being on that proverbial bubble is a very tough spot to be in, but at the same time, you have to just almost forget that you're there and go out there and fight with your heart.
126 for Priscilla Cachoeira.
Well, she's fought some of the best fighters in the UFC. Her UFC debut came against Valentina Shevchenko. She's also fought Molly McCann. This weekend, she gets Shana Dobson in a flyweight matchup.
Next up in the women's strawweight division, Loma Lukbunmi against Angela Hill. First to the stage in the blue corner, Angela Overkill Hill.
Angela Overkill Hill is a face that we've become familiar with seeing. You know, this is her 6th time out in just a year, and it seems as if, like, every single time she gets out there, she gets better and better, and it's like the more fights she takes, the stronger she becomes. So, Angela, keep fighting.
Looking for her 3rd straight victory.
Loma Lukbunmi.
And it'll be a tough challenge.
Most definitely. As we said earlier, this is the first time Loma's actually had to cut weight. She actually was up to 57 kilos. That's 125 pounds. So she's put on the pounds in advance of this, hopes that that size and that strength will translate into the octagon. She also got fined $400 for bringing 2 bananas into New Zealand in advance of this one. They're strict about what you can bring in here.
Very strict.
$400 for 2 bananas.
Moving on to the flyweight division, Kai Kara France against Tyson Nam. First to the stage in the blue corner, Tyson Nam.
Well, you hear the pop for Kai Kara France, but looking to spoil the party will be Tyson Nam, who calls Hawaii home, but he lived for a long time up in Washington and trains with Ricky Simone, the bantamweight prospect of the UFC, who's right there with him on stage. Tyson Nam fought in Mexico City. Said the elevation got to him. It was a point fight style against Sergio Pettis. He doesn't want that style. He wants all action, and he expects to get it from the local here, Kai Kara France.
Listen to that crowd. They are pumped up for their hometown, guys. That is for sure. This city kickboxing crew, they have been rolling. It's been a fun one for them. He's coming off of a loss, but motivated to win for his team. It'll be interesting to see if that can actually mess with their mental game, too, you know, having so many guys on the card. But he doesn't seem to think so.
He's letting them know what tomorrow's going to be like right out the gate.
Callan Potter against Song Kanan. In the blue corner, the assassin, Song Kanan.
Song Kanan is an assassin indeed. 9 first-round finishes, 7 wins by KO, and 6 wins by submission. He's extremely well-rounded fighter. You know, he's got some training in with Jackson's gym, and he's a Chinese fighter. And being a Chinese fighter, you have a big opportunity because China MMA is so new. So if you can be the guy to get the clippings, to go out there and win it, get the highlight, then you're going to be the man.
And his opponent in the red corner, Callan, the rockstar, Potter.
Callan Potter coming into this matchup, who says he wants it pretty in terms of Song Kanan. He wants it pretty. That's not my style. I'm here to make it ugly. Moved up to welterweight. And Dan Kelly is his full-time coach, one of 4 guys out of that gym in Australia, so they hope for a big night. Judo Dan Kelly has been around the block in combat sports, and Callan Potter will look to make him proud against a really tough prospect from China in Song Kanan.
Remaining in the welterweight division, Jake Matthews versus Emil Meck. First to the stage in the blue corner, Emil Valhalla Meck.
Emil Meck, he's coming into enemy territory. He actually left home. We were talking about all the distractions. He went to Vegas. He left Norway. He was working with the guy you know well, Rashad Gray Maynard. Really wanted to work on his takedown defense. He feels like that was exactly what he needed to be ready for a guy like Jake Matthews.
Jake Matthews, 3 first-round finishes, 5 wins by KO, and 6 wins by submission. You know, he says, I feel like I'm a pioneer here, you know, because when he first started fighting Australia, it was illegal. So now he said, I'm just excited to be here where everybody from this part of the world can come and see me.
But Emil Meck stomped on the scale after he made weight yesterday and nearly broke the thing for the rest of the fighters weighing in. It's good to see Emil Meck back because he last fought in the summer of 2018, but he is an all-action fighter from Norway.
Josh Kulibau making his UFC debut. Josh Kulibau.
Big moment for the Aussie, who is undefeated, widely regarded as the top featherweight prospect in all of Australia on the regional scene. He takes this opportunity in the lightweight division against Jalen Turner, youngest of 4 boys, had a brother who was a fighter who ultimately went the family route. He's carrying the flag for the Kulibaus. Doesn't worry about staying undefeated, knows it's a tough sport, knows he has a tough test in front of him, but ready to put himself on the MMA world stage.
Jalen Turner has finished all his opponents with a 100% finishing rate, 7 wins by KO, 1 win by submission. And Jalen Turner said, you know, he took some time off after his last fight. He hurt his knee a little bit, and he said that time off is exactly what he needed. You know, he has a lot of potential in his weight class. He's almost like a John Jones in his weight class, being so tall. And if his potential can pan out, he just might be that fighter like John Jones in his weight class. Look at that size.
Yeah, Tarantula is not just a nickname either. He actually had a pet tarantula because he was scared of spiders.
Oh, really?
And then he had hundreds of spiders, and he was breeding them, and if he gets a win, he wants to buy more spiders.
More spiders.
There you go. Put that in your fun fact.
Shoes, some people are into shoes, some people, some are into spiders.
Featured prelim is at featherweight, Zubaira Tukhugov. He went 3 years in between UFC appearances. Early on in his UFC career, he was notching the wins and then took that extended break. Last fought to a draw in Abu Dhabi in September. If he can get back to regular action, there's reason to think this guy from Dagestan could certainly be a prospect in the featherweight division to keep our eye on.
145 for Zubaira Tukhugov. And his opponent in the red corner, Kevin Angel of Death Aguilar.
Kevin Aguilar, 4 first-round finishes, 9 wins by knockout. And Kevin says, listen, he got an 85% takedown defense. He's going to utilize that with this fight because he feels that his opponent's going to try to take him down, and he wants to keep this fight standing. Kevin's standing is dynamic, and if he keeps this fight standing, he will get the W.
Tough guy from East Texas who went toe-to-toe with Dan Ige, who is now in the rankings in the featherweight division. Kevin Aguilar, a bright prospect, and Zubaira Tukhugov. Always tough, those fighters from Dagestan.
And the first fight on the main card in the lightweight division, Brad Riddell against Magomed Mustafayev. First to the stage in the blue corner, the sniper, Magomed Mustafayev.
Mustafayev has 9 first-round finishes, 10 wins by KO. And, you know, he's getting back into his activity. Took some time off, but now getting back into competing again. And look at him, just super stoic, as you can only a Russian can be.
I know you asked him for keys for victory. He's like, I have no keys.
Stoic, right? You can't get nothing.
On the other side is Brad Riddell, who hears the warmth of the home crowd. Look at that with the New Zealand flavor. Israel Adesanya proves. One of the many fighters out of City Kickboxing who now is on the UFC stage is Brad Riddell, who made his UFC debut in front of the largest crowd in UFC history at UFC 243 in October in Melbourne. Got his hand raised that night, takes a 4-fight win streak into this main card opener in New Zealand.
Moving on to the heavyweight division, Ben Sassoli versus Marcus Rogerio de Lima. First to the stage in the blue corner, Marcus Rogerio de Lima.
Zelina comes in this fight feeling he has the advantage because a couple of his teammates already has fought his opponent. So he's just like, I've already been there, it feels like, because he's been getting tips from his training partners and his camp has done it a few times. So he's coming to this fight feeling fairly confident. He knows he has a very tough fight ahead of him, but he is ready for the challenge.
And his opponent in the red corner, the Combat Wombat, Ben Sassoli.
Well, his challenge this weekend is one of the best nicknames in the UFC, the Combat Wombat, Ben Sassoli, who's from New Zealand. Now he trains in Australia. You see Dan Kelly, the UFC veteran, next to him.
264 for Ben Sassoli.
And pushing the limit of that heavyweight division. Oh, he drew the abs on.
Wow.
I didn't know if that was a tattoo. He's been in the gym, so 264 with a six-pack. Look out for the Combat Wombat. But either way, his stock went up in the no contest against Greg Hardy, which happened in Boston in October when we went for 3 rounds. Of course, the inhaler fiasco on the other side. But Ben Sassoli, former Ultimate Fighter competitor, will look for a win in his native New Zealand.
In the blue corner, Yan Xiaonan.
Well, Yan Xiaonan is a prospect out of China, and a bright one at that, who has won 11 of her 13 pro fights so far. She's unbeaten in the UFC, and she has a big opportunity against a name like Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who of course fought for the UFC title. 10-fight unbeaten streak for Yan Xiaonan.
Oh, she gets a nice welcome here. Karolina told me, you know, she struggles with Hashimoto's disease, which I actually didn't know what it was. I had to look it up, and it's where an autoimmune disease that attacks the thyroid, something that she has had to change her diet completely. She's become a vegan. That was 6 months ago. She said now she feels like an entirely different fighter, and we are going to see the difference because of that.
I mean, she's not shy anymore, so it looks like it's made a difference already.
Yeah.
Next up in the co-main event in the light heavyweight division, Jimmy Crute Bishop, Michelle Alexejum versus the stage in the blue corner, Mikhail Lord Alexejum.
Alexejum, 7 first-round finishes, 10 wins by KO, and 1 win by submission. This guy has action all the way through. You know, after his last fight, and he lost against OSP with that Von Flue choke, he's like, you know what, that's an area we need to work on. So he went back and he worked on his grappling, and he said that he rounded out his skills, and he feels like that was the hole in his game. So let's look and see those improvements in this fight.
Jimmy Crute!
Jimmy Crute, 6 first-round finishes, 4 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He is so fired up to be here this weekend, you know, and proud to be being a co-feature with 3 other teammates. He doesn't want to know the results of his teammates' fights. I think that's interesting. Very focused. He said he wants to get it to the ground and get a submission early if it goes his way.
It's always a challenge, right, Rashad? Teammates on the card.
It always is. Yes, it is. Because if they lose, it can throw your whole mindset off.
It's time to take a look at the 2 warriors in the main event of the evening.
Dan the Hangman Hooker looking to make New Zealand proud tonight.
Oh, there it is! Big knee, and Jim Miller is out! Dan Hooker!
After that fight, I wanted a ranked opponent. And me, I like to deal with things face to face.
I want a ranked opponent next. I just so happen to be standing across from a ranked opponent.
Oh! Paul Felder's pouring under pressure.
This might be it. The Irish Dragon, Paul Felder. I've been waiting for somebody to actually have some guts to stand here in front of me and say that they wanted to fight me.
The fight never turned out to fruition, but I couldn't have been more respectful when I called him out. And then after my last win, I seen a picture that he put up.
He told me he was going to smash my face on Twitter, so I responded with this little meme about a hooker. He didn't like that.
To disrespect a man's family name, that's a name I pass on to my children. He made a grave error, and if he wanted to trigger me, congratulations. You've achieved your goal. You've woken me up. I've trained harder than I've ever trained for any fight. You're gonna get exactly what you asked for, and I will knock you unconscious.
I know he's as tough as they come, but I'm not one to back down from a gunfight. I just feel like I'm a little bit harder than him, a little bit more seasoned in the octagon.
Ricci's covering up, and that's it.
I plan on going out there in front of my fans, in front of my city, and completely dismantling and outclassing Paul Felder.
Oh! The Hangman does it again!
I've fought in enemy territory before. I fought in Brazil, twice in Canada. I fought in Scotland with 15,000 Scottish people screaming for Stevie Ray, and I put him out in a round.
Nasty elbows.
Wow!
This is where I belong. I'm a main event fighter. On show night, that's when I'll show out.
This is my backyard, and I'm going to defend it with my life. I promise you, I'm going to land a shot on his chin, and I'm going to take him off the planet.
You better look out, because no matter how you want to get it, you're going to get it, whether it's a decision or I knock you out in front of all these people. The Irish Dragon, he's coming for you.
Meet me in New Zealand, and I'm going to end you.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the blue corner, Dan the Hangman Hooker!
Listen to that crowd as they give it all to Hooker. 12 first rounds finishes, 10 wins by KO and 7 wins by submission. Hooker is extremely well-rounded, and he's taking this fight personal, so you know he's going to go out there and fight hard. Plus, he's fighting in front of these fans, and he wanted this moment. This is what you want. You want this moment, and he's a guy who's there to seize the opportunity.
What kind of a muted hostile reaction, polite, respectful. He has been that to them at all the public events this week. But for Paul Felder, man, he wanted it and he's got it. 5 possible rounds for this one. He wanted to be a UFC main event fighter, the chance to go 25 minutes. We'll see if they need 25 minutes, because these guys are both violent, no stranger to a good stare down. And the traditional New Zealand greeting is to touch noses. And they just did it.
Dan Hooker, let's have a word with you. What's this like? A main event, you've got a great opponent in front of you, you're fired up, ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Ka kapia o ia, perana kina turu. I'm going to close him like a chair.
Dan Hooker! How does that make you feel, Paul? You look like you're ready for war.
Listen, you can talk all the talk, you can say all that stuff, phone me like a lawn chair, none of that matters, okay? It's all talk. You guys are supporting your boy, I respect you, but I'm coming in here to shut you up tomorrow night, I promise you that, and taking this win back to the United States of America, that I promise you. Ashland, Daddy's coming home with a W.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a hell of a fight. Paul the Irish Dragon Felder.
Message sent on each side. Hooker excited. Felder ready. And with the message home to his daughter Ashland, that he promises to bring a victory back home to the great city of Philadelphia. Back on camera after those ceremonial weigh-ins, Brent Fitzgerald with the UFC Hall of Famer Rashad Evans, and the third member of our crew, Heidi Andral. Rashad, what'd you think of that one? Nose to nose for the 2 main event guys.
I'm a guy who judges a lot off the stare down.